Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a few days since I've given a report on the COVID-19 supports and programs our department has rolled out to date. So today I want to provide Islanders with an update of where things are at. But before I get to that update, I want to start off by recognizing the Confederation Center of the Arts. Today they announced for the first time in its 55-year history that the Charlottetown Festival has been canceled. As Minister responsible for both tourism and culture, my heart goes out to all of the staff involved in the Charlottetown Festival and at the Confederation Center of the Arts. I certainly recognize that this decision wasn't easy for the Confederation Center, but it was indeed a very important and responsible one to make, as safety continues to be the top priority during these unprecedented times. Prince Edward Island is incredibly fortunate to have such a vibrant and dynamic arts community. Our island artists are incredibly important to our province, and that is why every year, twice a year, in the spring and fall, we launch a round of funding for our Arts Grants program to support professional island artists in their projects and help them advance their learning and expertise. I want to take this opportunity to share with you all and professional island artists that last week we opened our spring round of Arts Grants and are now accepting applications. To learn more information about this program and how to apply for an Arts Grant, visit princeedwardisland.ca/artsgrants. Once again, princeedwardisland.ca/artsgrants. And now we'll move on to our update of our COVID-19 supports and programs. To date, we have approved 2,325 applications and rolled out $2,275,000 from the Emergency Income Relief Fund into the pockets of self-employed Islanders. I'd like to add that we've extended the deadline to apply for the Emergency Income Relief Fund for the self-employed to April 30th. However, just a reminder that this temporary program is specifically to help address the loss of income self-employed Islanders experienced between the period of March 16th and March 29th. As for the Emergency Relief Worker Assistance Program for workers who are still working but have seen a significant reduction in their work hours due to the impact of COVID-19, 259 applications have been approved for 1,500 impacted employees, which means $538,500 are now in the pockets of these island workers. This temporary program is specifically to help employed workers who had experienced a reduction of at least 8 hours per week during the 4-week period of March 16th to April 11th. The deadline to apply for the Emergency Relief Worker Assistance Program is April 30th. As for emergency working capital financing for small businesses, to date, 132 loans have been approved, totaling $6.5 million. For our employee gift card program, we have received 1,501 applications from employers, which means 9,920 Sobeys gift cards have gone out to island employees who have been laid off. As for our Community Champions program, we have 68 registered champions that have given out 2,040 grocery gift cards to Islanders so far. As for our Commercial Lease Rental Deferral Program, we have received 160 inquiries and have approved 70 applications so far. For our COVID-19 Business Adaptation Advice Program, so far we have approved 160 applications for island businesses, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and non-governmental organizations to access professional advice and support from the impacts of COVID-19. And as for COVID-19 Income Support Fund, we have approved 7,277 applications, meaning $5.4 million are now in the pockets of Islanders. And a reminder to all Islanders, the deadline to apply for this one-time lump sum payment of $750 is April 30th. Last week we announced supports for the tourism industry. Details on our Tourism Interest Relief Program and our Tourism Assistant Loan Program are now available on our government's website. In total, we have rolled out 10 programs and have expanded 2 pre-existing programs to help support Islanders during these challenging times. For details on how to apply to all the supports and programs we have rolled out so far, please visit princeedwardisland.ca/COVID-19. There you will find 2 buttons to click on, for business and for workers. When you click in these categories, you can review all the COVID-19 supports we have announced to date. I'll wrap things up by thanking all Islanders for your patience over the past month as we've rolled out these supports. And I'd like to acknowledge my incredibly hardworking staff for their commitment to helping Islanders during these challenging times. By supporting each other, we will get through this. And with that, now I'll pass it over to Minister Compton.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It was only a few weeks ago that I delivered the economic and fiscal update for the province and shared our outlook for 2020. I am back today to share more information on our financial situation, on the investments we have made to support Islanders in getting through this unimaginable pandemic, and on how we will help reinvigorate our economy as public health measures are eventually relaxed in our province over the coming weeks and months. No one could have predicted that the world, never mind our province, would find ourselves in this position today. It's been 40 days since we first declared a state of public health emergency within the province and announced initial financial supports for Islanders. Every day since, we have taken firm steps to help address the social and economic effects of COVID-19 and what it's had on Islanders. We've been flexible and responsive to the needs of Islanders, ensuring to the best of our ability that no Islander is left behind. We have announced supports for families, seniors, students, individuals, businesses, economic sectors, and self-employed. We also made investments to ensure the healthcare system is ready to respond to COVID-19. Our commitment to Islanders across all sectors and backgrounds is that your government has been, and will continue to be here to support you through this unprecedented time. We've worked closely with Islanders, industry, and the business community, organizations, and municipalities to put meaningful programs and supports in place to help us all weather this storm. We've worked to ensure federal support programs are reflective of our needs on P.E.I. and that all of our funding initiatives, provincial and federal, are complementary. In the coming weeks, Islanders can expect to receive information from the Provincial Tax Office about how to take advantage of property tax relief measures previously announced to further alleviate some of the financial hardship that they may be feeling during these challenging times. Across various programs and supports we have initiated in response to COVID-19, we have been able to assist Islanders through 30,000 applications for individual support and 2,000 applications for island businesses and counting. It is important that we remain responsive and responsible in our approach to the pandemic. As Finance Minister, I continue to work closely with my federal and provincial counterparts to ensure programs being offered by the federal government are flexible enough to meet the needs of Islanders and island businesses. An example of this is the Commercial Rent Assistance Program that the federal government announced today, which makes support available upfront for those who need it. The federal government has also designed a new suite of programs, including to assist businesses, including the Canada Emergency Business Account, or CEBA. Following recent conversations with local financial institutions, I feel confident that these programs will provide additional meaningful support to island businesses that need it. With so much uncertainty about how long the pandemic will carry on, I want to assure Islanders that we will be there for you and we will get through this together. As a government, we continue to be fiscally responsible and socially responsive in our efforts to support Islanders. We need to make measured decisions. We cannot make everyone whole, but we will continue to work together to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19. Our efforts have been focused on addressing urgent and basic needs of Islanders first. As the Premier has said many times in recent weeks, we are doing things every day that we have never done before. We want to ensure that the programs and supports being delivered are responsive and responsible, meeting the needs of Islanders they are intended to support, and being guided by strong oversight. As such, I welcome the Auditor General's involvement, and my department will be transparent in working with her, just as we have been in working with Islanders since the very beginning. We will also continue to work collaboratively across party lines to support Islanders through the pandemic. And as we look toward the days and weeks ahead, our thoughts are understandably focused on being able to hug our family members and loved ones and find our way to a new normal. COVID-19 has had an unimaginable impact on the health and social well-being of nations around the world, and it's also taken a toll on our global economy. Prince Edward Island's economy is feeling the ripple effects, and because of our fiscal response to COVID-19 to support Islanders in getting through this pandemic, along with unexpected reduction in tax revenues, there is little doubt that we will experience a deficit for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. We're not alone in facing this reality, as every province across the country and the federal government are in the same position. We will make the needed investments, but we will do so with vigilance in our spending. We are working diligently on the budget for this fiscal year, and I look forward to be able to table that budget in the legislature, hopefully soon, so that we can have a clear sense of what the financial path ahead looks like for our province. We are fortunate that our province was on a solid economic position before the pandemic hit, and I have the confidence that we will have the financial endurance needed to manage a deficit. As the Premier has said earlier in the week, we are looking at easing back public health measures, and we are thinking about what might that look like for Islanders and our economy. It is because of the excellent leadership of the Chief Public Health Office and the proactive steps we took together in the early days of this pandemic that we can even have a conversation about relaxing measures. I do, however, want to caution each and every one of you that while our province is in a good situation today, we are by no means out of the woods yet. Like many, I'm anxious for Islanders to see their loved ones, to be active in their communities again, and to go back to work. However, any relaxing or easing of public health measures will be gradual, and we ask for Islanders' continued patience, understanding, and cooperation, as you've all done so thus far. Islanders are resilient by their very nature. It is that resiliency, hard work, and determination that leads strength to our communities and to our economy. We must continue to be mindful of not just the situation we are in, but that of our neighboring provinces, our country, and nations around the world. Our responsibility is to Islanders and their safety. We will continue to work closely with the Chief Public Health Office as we get ready to ease measures, ensuring that we do so responsibly and in tandem with all industries and departments to ensure that we are in a position to support economic recovery. We must have a system of checks and balances in place that will allow us to reopen P.E.I. together. Until then, I encourage you to stay safe and continue to follow the direction of the Chief Public Health Office. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll open for questions.
Nicola McLeod, BBC.
Hi, my question is for Mr. Compton. A few weeks ago, you had told us that we were projecting a deficit from last year of $3.7 million for the last fiscal year. Do you have any more information on what that number may be?
It's really hard to say that yet. There are many variables to look at. You know, for the last fiscal year, it was a deficit of around $5 million. We projected a $2 million surplus in just that last week or so of March. Changed that. Moving forward for the next year, we're working together with all the departments to come back to us, and we are daily working on what the budget will look like. So, there are a lot of variables in that. How quickly we come out of this? Is there a great decrease in revenues? There are a number of things to look at.
Great, thank you. And how challenging is it right now to make a plan regarding the future of PEI's big industries when the earnings are so up in the air?
Well, the one thing I continue to say is we were in a good economic position going into the pandemic. We, had a better rating from the bond raters. We're in a good position to be able to borrow the funds that we need, both short-term and long-term. And I know because of the nature of Islanders, we will be resilient, and people want to get back to work as quickly as we can, and we want to do that in a safe way, and we will rebound.
you.
Nicole Williams, CBC.
Hi, I'm wondering if you both can answer this question. You just said that you're confident that P.E.I. can rebound. Can you just specifically tell people why you're so confident in that, just seeing how much worse the situation is getting economically?
Well, I'll speak to that first. As I said before, going into this, we were in a really good place. Islanders want to go back to a new normal. They're willing to work hard and they want to be resilient. They want to see the island back to where it was. When that will happen, we're not sure. But we know because of where we were that we will be in a better place coming out of this.
And I can just add a little bit to that. So one thing about P.E.I., we're nimble, we can adjust. If you look at the measures we've taken now and in the coming weeks, we're hoping to get back to a bit of a local economy, which will be one of the very few provinces that is going to be in that situation to be able to do that. So as long as we continue being down the right path, Islanders working hard to do their part. So I believe that we can get back to a local economy relatively soon.
And I'm wondering if you can talk to me about how much, I don't know if there's a projection you have on hand, but how much will provincial revenues be affected? Do you have any projections for the current fiscal year?
Can we take that? Yeah. So very hard to make those projections. It depends on how quickly we can ease back to a new normal, what that looks like, how responsive businesses are. The main buckets that are affected, of course, are your income tax, both personal and corporate income tax, and sales tax. People are not out spending money the way they normally are, and those are some of our big revenues for P.E.I. So depending on how quickly we can come out of that and how, I would say, innovative companies are here on P.E.I. to make that happen.
Thank you.
Laurent Levoix.
Good afternoon. I have a question for you, Minister MacKay. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure you said it at the beginning, but do you have an update about the loans for the tourism industry you announced last week?
Thank you for the question. So we are taking applications now. We've had some great uptake. We've got calls going to Finance P.E.I. It should be up on the site, as I believe, as of yesterday. Things are going well. We're getting lots of feedback. There's a couple of adjustments that we made with the program. That there was a couple gaps which we've worked through. So we're full steam ahead, and I hope most tourism operators can make the call, fill the application, and we're going to do our very best to help you all out.
Okay, and just a follow-up on that for you, Minister Compton. The economic update, which was released at the beginning of the month, indicated that 5,300 job losses were anticipated in May for accommodation and food services. Is it still valid, this figure, or it will be updated too?
Well, we're looking at that regularly. It's very difficult to say yet until we see the next labor force projection, but I can comment that almost 14,000 Islanders applied for E.I. in the first 4 weeks of the pandemic. So it gives you a bit of an idea.
Thank you.
Stu Neepy, The Guardian.
Hi, good afternoon. I suspect, I was actually wondering if there's any information you might be able to give about the applications for the Special Situation Fund. Now, I know it's not necessarily in either of your departments, but it is one of those relief programs for people who aren't eligible for some of the other ones. So I'm wondering if there's any information you can give me about that fund, about applicants and whatnot.
Thanks for the question, Stu. I don't know a whole lot about that program, but the little I do know, which I had an update about a week ago, there was approximately 570 applications in through that program. The approvals were starting to go out. One question I had today was we're going to get some feedback from Minister Myers on the business sector as well, to what some of the gaps that they're facing. But from my understanding, the program's rolling out relatively well.
Okay, thanks. And I guess for Minister Compton, I mean, this is a bit similar to, I guess, the question that was just asked, but I figure I'll ask it a bit of a different way, I suppose. I mean, the projections from 2 weeks ago sort of seem to indicate that basically by August, much of the employment on P.E.I. would largely go back to what the projections were kind of, before March. Are the projections still that optimistic? Like, do you really think that the sort of job losses would be reduced down to just 2,200 people by the end of the summer?
Thanks for the question, Stu. It's really early to say that. I mean, we're in a good place. We haven't had, any cases, basically for 2 weeks. We've had one, I think, and we're very optimistic. We're looking at the stages that we're going to have to ease out of this, get people back to work in a safe way. It's really difficult to say. Minister MacKay mentioned earlier about having a crystal ball, and I wish we did, but we don't. So we just want to be there for Islanders to meet their needs. But, we are a seasonal economy in a number of ways, and there are seasonal jobs that will be out there that have to be done in a safe way.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. All Islanders tuned in. Once again, we appreciate your patience. Until we talk again, stay safe, stay healthy.